You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Ho-Sang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down a very positive month of December for the Niagara IceDogs going into the new calendar year. Happy 2025 to everybody out there on this January 1st edition of the Dog Pound Podcast, starting off 2025 on a big note. We're also going to hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau and Inside the Coaches Room, as well as Captain Kevin He on Captain Kev's Flight Deck on today's show. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in on the YouTube version. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our YouTube coverage here on the network, as well as those listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Thank you very much for doing so on this New Year's Day night when this episode is released. So, Cam, great month of December for the Niagara IceDogs after a turbulent month of November where they went 500, and the month didn't start off great with losing to Peterborough in overtime and Gavin Bryant getting the better of his former team up there. But the IceDogs were able to rattle off an 8-2-1 record this month. Pretty incredible. That has them sitting third place right now in the Eastern Conference. A little bit of a bumpy first Michigan road trip after the Christmas break there. But regardless of that, a very positive month for the team and a lot of momentum here going into 2025 in the playoff push.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we talked about this, on the last monthly recap that, this month is going to determine that, kind of what they do and where they're going to settle in. We saw the 7-game road trip on the schedule and kind of highlighted that as the not breaking point, but essentially the point at which it is determined if this team is going to be the real deal, a playoff team, first round playoff team, all of that. And, my goodness, every time that you think that, this is where they kind of fall off a little bit, this IceDogs team is just, continue to really impress. I mean, that five game in a row winning streak to start that road trip going into the Christmas break was just absurd. That's got to be one of the best road trips they've ever had in the history of their franchise. I would love to know the ESPN stats and info on that, but I can't see them having many better. Just 5 straight road wins, just very, very impressive. And not only that, you mentioned they're third in the conference, but they're 2 points back of Barrie for first in the Eastern Conference, right? And more importantly is it looks like, again, we're about to the Eastern Conference is so weird this year because of Brantford and specifically Brampton struggles that those two aren't really a bottom 4 team. So anything could happen. But as it stands right now, they're 7 points up on 4th place, which is, the big thing here. So it looks like we talked about this when they went 500, that are they going to, I think a goal would be to get a home playoff round. So that'd be 4th. I think they've done that. I think that they've guaranteed themselves at least 4th. And now it's just about getting healthy. We're going to talk about, trades and potential trades and things like that. And, I just think that's everything's looking really good for them. And, highlighted by that New Year's Eve game where they were able to pull out the dub over Peterborough.
Yeah, in front of a sold-out barn in the Meridian Center for the New Year's Eve game, which is always great to see, and you hope you see more of that going forward into the playoff push. But it was great to see the Meridian Center packed last night, and the IceDogs come away with a hard-earned 2 points against a Peterborough team that has been playing a lot better in the last 10 games. And it was a very good atmosphere in downtown St. Catharines last night on New Year's Eve. But 5-2-1 on the road, as you mentioned, and 3-0 at home. So you mentioned the 7-game road trip, and they've got a tough 3-3 coming up as well with Owen Sound in London, 2 road games, and they're back on Sunday afternoon for a Windsor game. But that was a really tough stretch that they got out of the way there. You think about those 7 games on the road, and that the Michigan road trip was in there as well. They don't have to do that again. So when you're able to come out of a month where you played so much on the road, and you come away 8-2-1. I mean, to me, you're just banking points for when you do have those long stretches at home that are coming up in January and February.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, as long as they avoid, the 10-game losing streak or the 2-8 stretch, again, I think that it's going to be awfully hard to hold off Barrie and Oshawa to win the conference, but hey, who knows? Just, it's funny listening to other shows, around the OHL and other coverage. It's not so much of just glazing over the Niagara IceDogs anymore. I don't think they're viewed as a championship contender, but I don't think that they're viewed as this has to stop at some point anymore. I think it's just this is the beginning of their championship window over the next couple of years, or they're pushed to go for it, right? This would be year 1, and it's just going to be very interesting. I think that they've just got to win the games that they should win. So you mentioned the 3-3 coming up. London, that's going to be a brutal game. However, they're going to be without Cowan and without
Haltonen
and
Dickinson.
Dickinson. So it's not the normal London team. It's the London team at the beginning of the season that struggled a little bit. And that's a winnable game for the IceDogs because, they're in the beginning of their championship window. They didn't send anyone over to the World Juniors. That being said, it's still going to be tough to go in there. The Owen Sound game, that's the kind of game I'm talking about. They need to win those games. Owen Sound is not a very good team. They're not, they're going to start rebuilding. They don't have Carter George. They have to win that game. And then Windsor is much like Niagara, where it's just they're in the beginning of their window and everything's clicking. And every time they've played so far this season, it's been a really good game. So we'll see if if they can survive that one. But anytime that we other than Barrie, really, there isn't a game where they go into it and I'm like, man, this is gonna be tough. I think they have a shot, is what I'm saying. I think, what I mean? It's such a weird mentality now after following this team for the last 4 years. Because you just didn't have that, right? So they've got an important stretch coming up, but that road trip, I mean, they're about to play 2 more on the road in that 3-3 this week, next week, or this weekend. And that's 9 out of the last 10 games on the road. We talked about, man, it felt like they had a lot of home games. They just wiped all that out. They've been on the road for essentially a month. So that means their schedule gets a little bit easier in terms of their home win or their home games. And we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out now.
Yeah, and something that has contributed to their success is I got the conference standings pulled up there. First in the conference in goals, 152 goals for. I know they have 144 against, which has them near the bottom of the conference in that sense, but they're still scoring goals, Cam. They're still finding a way to generate offense and having Owen Flores be able to bail them out, if they try to go, a little bit for that offense. And we've seen that it's been more successful for them than not in the power play. 25% this year as opposed to 10% last year, which was dead last in the Ontario Hockey League. So you look at those 2 statistics, and I know Ben Boudreau preaches the team defense and playing as a unit and not trying to go too individualistic. But when you look at, from year to year, the power play and the goals for are something that you can look at and say why this team has had such a turnaround in a quick, a short span here.
Well, their offense is, it's been really impressive this year, and I think that I don't think anyone overlooks that now. The one thing I'll say about, their goal differential, and Reese actually talks about this in his coverage of the OHL and the OHL 60 podcast, that when they lose bad. It's a lot of the 8-2 game to Flint.
or the Guelph
And
game.
exactly, right? So,
Erie.
I mean,
There are a
like
couple of
when
them.
they lose, it's really rough. And that's hard to like, that's tough. You want to see them if they're going to be a real big playoff contender, win a round or two. They've got to not get blown out and just kind of like wilt away. And we haven't seen a ton of that. I'm not because I mean they've only lost off the top of my head, it was 11 games
Yep.
in terms of regulation. They've only lost 11 times, right? But I would say like half of those are by more than three, right? So you want to see them just stay a little bit closer in all of their losses. But Flores is just taking a lot of shots, but he has given them a chance to win because their offense has been so good. And man, we're gonna talk about like the lineup and everything very shortly, but with Matthew Paris and Asadorian coming back, holy smokes, is it fun to have three actual lines? Because Paris has been incredible since he's come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned three lines that can score, and I've got the schedule here just off the top of the head on the losses here: 7-3, 9-3, 8-5, 6-3, 8-2 were the ones that were really blowout losses here. There's a couple more in there that were close, but both half their losses this year were by three or more goals.
Exactly, yeah. Like you know what I mean, and that's tough for a playoff team because you get blown out in a game and it's only one game, but it's hard that in the next game if you go down by one or two, that like, oh man, here we go again kind of thing, right? But they've shown that they don't lose consistently, and when they do lose, they right the ship pretty quickly. But you just like to see them, kind of hunker down a little bit defensively, and it's surprising they've given up so many goals. Like I said, if you look at those losses, it's and that being said, they are winning quite a bit of 1-goal games too, and it's hard to sustain. But there's really not much you can kind of discredit them this year. It's when they have their full complement of forwards and defensemen, and Flores is in net. This team is among the best in the OHL. And it might not be a number one contender like Barrie or Oshawa or London. Um, but that being said, they are still extremely potent, and they've got three lines that roll now, and it's tough to handle.
Owen Flores leads the Ontario Hockey League in saves, so that's just something to add there. I know he's played a lot.
That I would have bet immediately.
As we look at the last lineup from last night against Peterborough, you've got Loshko, and Matthew Paris actually moved up to the top line in that game. You had Rubrick, Zada, and Aerosmith. That's been pretty much a staple there in the second line with the 07s. You had Mike Levin, Asadorian, and Brady Wasslin on the third line with Max Creed, Ivan Gallianov, and Sean Doherty on the fourth line. On defense, Jack Brody was out with his automatic 2-game suspension for a slew foot, so the decor was a little bit jambled up there, but Van Vliet and Wysick's been the number one pair for quite a while. You've got Brody and Virgilio there on the second pair, and then Chanowski and Scott on the third pair with Frasca and DeWatcher kind of rotating in, Flores and Robertson as the goaltending, and then you've got a couple of scratch forwards there, and Dianov and Hotless, waiting for their opportunity as younger players. But what are you seeing from the lineup now, as you mentioned, with Paris and Asadorian back? Really puts everybody in a place to succeed.
Oh yeah, and you're seeing it. So I mentioned Matthew Paris. Also, shout out. I think it's his birthday today.
There you go.
Yeah, so he's 0101. That's a crazy birthday. That being said, in his last 4 games, he has 7 points, right? And he wasn't playing with he and Loshko, I believe, on the first 2 or 3 games of that. I think he was just moved up there.
Yeah, he was playing with Asadorian and Levin.
Yeah, exactly, right? And Asadorian and Levin, like that's the third line. And so he had excuse me. He had 6 points in 3 games on the third line,
and they were one of the IceDogs' best lines.
Yeah, and it's funny when that happens, like we talked about this quite a bit when you saw Max Creed on the first line for a majority of the beginning part of the season, and you kind of saw the growing pains there. It's hard to trust. It's hard to put a 16-year-old in that spot and succeed. But when everyone's back healthy, it puts everyone in the right spot. And now you've got, the third line that has a complement of OHL players that are good in the OHL. They might not be NHL drafted players or anything like that, but they will go up against other third lines in the league and be able to consistently perform offensively. And that's extremely important. And it allows the first line to deal with what they've got to deal with. And that second line of Rubrick and Zada, my goodness, that's been fun. Zada's, like what we talked about last year, I think that Creed is going to go through what Zada did last year. That's my early take and early guess of 2025 on January 1st. Zada has become everything that we expect or thought he could, but I think he's even exceeded that. I would love to see the next round of scouting. I really don't think he'll be projected 7th round anymore. I think he's helped his draft stock a ton.
Yeah, I talked to him at practice a few weeks ago, and he said even being honest, when that list came out, he was pretty ticked off about it. And I think it's really lit a fire to show that he's a lot more worthy of being a mid-round draft pick than being a late-round draft pick. And we always talked about the defensive play being there. I know he struggled in one of the games. I think it was Saginaw or Flint, his face-off percentage. But for the most part, he's been one of the IceDogs' go-to face-off guys this year. And his offensive ability, he's almost doubled his point output already through halfway through the season than he had all of last year. And that was the one thing that we knew would come with time. And now that he's got that confidence to know that he can make these plays and be able to carry the puck in, he was that X-factor guy that we talked about. We knew that Rubrick was going to do what he did and really take that next step forward. But it was Zada as the other first-round pick that unfortunately gets overlooked because the IceDogs had 2 of them. But they took him 5th overall for a reason, and he's a guy that what GM Wes Consorti said he was in plain sight all year. You know what you're going to get from Ethan Zada on a day-in and day-out basis, and you need guys like that to be able to be successful and be a contending team. And right now they're showing that Ethan Zada is all that and more.
30 points in his last 22 games.
Wild.
Yep. So just an unreal second season from Zada. And we mentioned that he is the X factor going into training camp. That if he was to, become a 50-point player, that this team becomes exceptionally dangerous. And to be honest, I say this a lot, but I'm excited for next year too. Next year, it's a real shot at the OHL championship when you have players like Zada and Kevin and Rubrick and Wasslin in his second year. It's a real shot at that. And you look around, other teams that are in their win. I mentioned Barrie a lot, but it's just because they're the team in the East that it looks like all roads go through Barrie, especially once they make some more moves, I think, as well at the deadline. That decor is just so impressive. But when you look at we talked about, when you have 8 NHL drafted players, right? It's just impressive to look at. And Zada will get drafted. I think we can confirm. I think I don't think it's going to be some outlandish thing to be he's going to be an NHL drafted player, right? And now you've got Kevin with Zada, and Rubrick and Wasslin are going to get drafted next year for sure. So, knock on wood. It's just a lot of fun for the future of it. But this year, Zada has really become a really must-watch player.
And it's going to be fun to see him at the OHL Top Prospects game in Brantford in a few weeks as well.
Yeah, and again, Rubrick has gotten all the love, or not the love, but the spotlight, as he should. Fair enough, as he should. Rubrick's earned all of that. But it's tough when, you come in 5th overall, right? Very, very few situations in the OHL you get drafted 5th overall and you're not their highest pick, right? It's a special circumstance. So, and then you've got such a short career window, and then you've got Ryan, who as a 16-year-old breaks every franchise record, and he's highly touted and all of this, and it's tough to kind of break out that shadow, but it doesn't feel like that now, where it's this season it feels like they're both just kind of maturing together, right? And obviously Ryan's going to get a lot of the accolades, but when you look at the actual just team lead in points, Ryan's leading the team in points, which I think is surprising. With 52, and Zada's now with 37, right? But 30 of those have come in the last 22 games, right? He has a slow start to the year. So just really fun to watch.
Loshko's tied for 3rd in the league in power play goals too. He's somebody that almost feels forgotten because he doesn't do anything flashy. He does everything just solid. He's not one of those guys. Every time he scores, he just puts his stick up in a salute. He's not the showboat type of guy, and he's obviously a Seattle Kraken 4th rounder last year. And the fact that the IceDogs were able to get him in that on waivers, he takes up the import and overage spot. But he's been everything that you could have asked for, a perfect complement to the way Kevin he plays, and being able to calculate Kevin's speed and have somebody that can really keep up with Kevin on that sense. And he's been, just great especially on the power play, which has obviously been so much better for the IceDogs this year.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got, like you mentioned, 10 power play goals, but 16 power play points on a team that was dead last in the league in that is the biggest difference. And you're right, he does kind of get forgotten about. I mean, you talk about Ryan Schott and Kevin Skating, right? But Lashko is just always in the right position, and he's kind of got that Halton one-timer. It's the same. I don't think anyone has Halton one-timer, but it's that same kind of spot. They seem to find it an awful lot, and when he gets a hold of one, he doesn't miss it. Right now, 19th in scoring in the OHL. The IceDogs have 3 players inside the top 20 in scoring.
Yeah,
I don't think we would have predicted that. No shot. So, just really impressive, and we'll talk about him in a little bit too. But Brady Wasslin entering right now, tied for the league with rookie scoring. Carson Harmer, kind of out of nowhere for Saginaw with 25, but he's also played 5 more games than Wasslin, so he's tied with Brady with 25 points. But he's also played 5 more games.
And I don't know if we'll see Ethan Belchez because he had a pending review suspension for something that he did the last weekend. So, yeah, Brady Wasslin quietly leading the Ontario Hockey League in rookie scoring. And
no one talks about that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any. Maybe it's because it was expected. I have no idea. Like, it just seems like, any of the coverage of the league, you don't see a lot of it. Wasslin. It might be because he's only got 6 goals. I would bet he's a 30-goal scorer next year.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be the goal scorer, but his playmaking ability has been incredible.
Year you see a massive shift in goal. His vision is so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun,
And Ben talked last week at practice when I talked to him about he's actually leading all rookies in ice time as well. So
I would love to see the ice time stats.
I know, we can't.
It doesn't surprise me that he's leading because the team doesn't, like, just in terms of rebuild. I'm surprised Belchez isn't in terms of average. Belchez was away. He's only played 27 games to Brady's 30. But I'm curious on that one just because they're the same situation where teams that were last and now in first or close to it. So, but Wasson's been unbelievable.
So we'll get to our first segment today, and is with IceDogs captain Kevin He on Captain Kev's Flight Deck, brought to you by Gales Gas. Your go-to gas station in the Niagara region, or not just a gas station, or a local tradition, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales, multiple locations across Niagara. Here's what the IceDogs captain had to say about his and his team's month of December and signing his NHL entry-level contract, which we'll talk about afterward. Back on our monthly segment with IceDogs captain Kevin He on Captain Kev's Flight Deck. Kev, good month of December for you guys. I know November was a little bit turbulent, and you guys were about 500, but now 8-2-1 in the month of December. Just how happy are you with yourself and the team's performance this month?
Yeah, I'm really happy. With the big win tonight. I think everyone's playing well, and we found our game.
I know the Michigan road trip wasn't what you guys wanted as far as results, but it's been a tough month as far as the travel. You played a lot of road games. How happy are you to kind of get through this part of the schedule? And I know you got a tough 3-3 coming up, but after that, you're going to have a lot of home games. So getting through a tough stretch like that, did that bring the guys together a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's never easy being on the road for so many games, but I think it made the group closer and it's definitely helped us.
Yeah, and talk about yourself. Obviously, this month you signed your NHL entry-level contract and everything that comes with that. Has your phone been a little bit busier since you signed that contract? And I know some of the bigger outlets have kind of got onto that, deservedly so, being the first Chinese-born player but to sign an NHL deal. But, what's it been like since signing your contract, if anything different?
Yeah, it's been huge. I got a lot of support from my teammates and family, and my phone has been blowing up a little bit, but I think overall I just can't thank the team enough. They've been super supportive throughout the year, and without them I wouldn't be here where I am today. And I really want to thank all my teammates.
Sometimes. But you bring in Blake Aerosmith this month. What do you think of him kind of fitting in there with Zada and Rubric on that second line as, the 07 born year line there? What have you thought of him coming over from London, and what do you think he's brought to the team so far?
Yeah, he's made an impact right from the get-go, and I love him as a player and as a person. So I think he fits that line really well, and he's been playing well for us.
Just talk about what the reaction was in the room with Noah Van Vliet, committed to university for next year. How happy are you for your big rugged defenseman? I know you guys have had some battles over the years with Sudbury and Hamilton/Brantford, and now he's in the room this year. What has he meant to that decor, and how happy are you guys that he's moving on next year?
Yeah, it's huge for everyone on the team, and he brings so much to the guys in the room, and he's been such a huge leader for us all season long. And to see that happen, him committing to Sacred Hearts, I think all the guys are really excited for him.
Who's somebody that's catching your eye this month, that's putting in the work? I know I ask you this every month, but somebody that's flying under the radar as opposed to the typical guys that you think has really impressed you this month?
Yeah, I would say he's flying on the radar, but Ethan Zotta's been there, all season long, and it's come in clutch past month. And I love this game, and I love his progression, and he's on the right track.
For sure. And what did you get under the Christmas tree this year? What was something that you were really looking forward to receiving this year?
Just a couple clothes. Just mostly didn't have too much time with my family in the month of December, and didn't come home a lot. So it was just nice having that little break and spending time with them.
Yeah, you talk about getting that break. It was a short one, but what is something like that, being able to recharge, and obviously with that tough month, what does that do for the body, being able to have a couple of days off for the body and the mind?
Yeah, it's huge for us. It's it's all about taking care of our bodies, and especially when you're going through so many road trips, it's not easy, but.
And lastly, you got the trade deadline coming up, and it's always a stressful time for any team, really. You never know who's going to be coming out of the lineup, but you guys are pretty happy with what you got in that room right now. So what's the message to the guys as the captain as you go through the next couple weeks, and knowing that the locker room might look a bit different in a couple weeks?
Yeah, kind of just control what you can control, and bring in the same attitude and mindset every day, and not worry about things that you can't control. So that's going to be huge for us.
IceDogs Captain Kevin He on another edition of Captain Kev's Flight Deck. Kev, Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing the team continue to grow here in January.
Thank you, Caputo.
There was IceDogs Captain Kevin He. Cam, thoughts on what number 11 had to say?
It's glad to hear that in the background, we talked about it a lot, but like Zada in the background is getting the adoration from his captain. As you can see, he's putting in the work off the ice or on the ice and in practice, everything like that, and it's kind of just all coming to fruition. Love to hear that. Also love to hear it was a great question about as a captain, what do you do when the trade deadline comes around? And man, I mean, they have to be the most interesting team going to the deadline. I in all honesty, like obviously you're going to see London make another move or Oshawa or Barrie. They're going to push their chips in, right? But Niagara wasn't expected to be first in the Eastern Conference at the deadline, and they might be. They've got a tough 3-3 here, but like they're right in there, right? Like I mentioned, they're 7 points up on fourth, right? So they've got a nice little cushion. They could go a number of ways here, and I think over the last few years they've been trigger happy on trades, but the last year and a half, they've really dialed it back, and they've kind of let the group grow together. And I don't even know what is the right move. I don't. They had to make a heck of a decision, with moving on from Gavin Bryant, and that's a tough business, like, for the franchise type move. Moving on from him, and we thought that it's still given the situation that it was probably the right thing. But nonetheless, like that was a tough move. They've shown that they can make the tough move. I think the tough move is to not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And are they going to do that? Or do they move an overager because next year is the real go for it year? And I think had the IceDogs made the playoffs in the last few years, and even just the first round, right? That might be the play. But I would hazard a guess that because this is an important year for the franchise, just for the fan base to trust them again, that they're a legit OHL contender like they were in the mid-2000s, right? I think that because of that, they're not going to make moves. And if they do make a move, it's a depth add. It's not going to be for Musty or Luchenko or anything like that. I think it'll be, an Aerosmith type move. I could see that, and I'm cool with that. The team has earned that, and I don't know, but it's tough, man. I have no idea what I would do. I don't envy the position that I do envy. They're in a good position. I'm making this sound like it's a bad. They're winning games. They're doing great. They're gonna make the playoffs. It's great, but you've got it. God, it's such a different beast in the CHL. You have such a small window when you're not London. You have such a small window that I don't know how to thread the needle. As a fan and as someone who covers the team, it's such a difficult decision, and I'm sure no matter what Niagara does, the rest of the league will scrutinize and say it's the wrong one. But they've done well so far, and all the power to them.
I think you hit it right on the head when you said the difficult decision is to do nothing, and
It's very tough,
that's
man.
what you in the position that they're in. And they still have to show that they can develop players, and you don't want them to just go all in for 1 year and then have them go through another cycle again. You have to show that you can have stability with players, develop them for a few years, get them drafted into the NHL, and show that you're a quality organization that can continue to nobody's London, but every other organization in the league does a good job of developing players, homegrown
That's
talent.
a developmental league.
Homegrown talent, keeping players for 3 or 4 years, moving on from them maybe at the end, but because it is a developmental league, as you mentioned, but being able to have that culture and that stability that of the coaching staff with Ben Boudreau and Dan Paille, that they can develop these players into something special and not just have to make massive trades every single year to bring in top end players that they can do within their own organization.
You want to talk about the trade deadline now?
Well, we got to go to break, so we'll come back after that. So
Okay.
we're going to take a quick break on today's show, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the trade deadline. We're going to talk to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau as well and inside the coach's room, and we'll look ahead to the upcoming schedule for the IceDogs. So stay right here, but right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
Whether you just brought home a new furry member of the family or would like help finding something new for your picky eater, maybe you've done your research and want to upgrade your pet's nutrition from an entry-level food, the staff at any of the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region would love to help you out. Let them show you why our lesser-known premium brands are so much better than highly advertised big corporate brands. The value from the brands we carry is not only visible in the health and vitality in your pet, but also because you won't need to feed as much as with the other brands. Better nutrition from a longer-lasting bag. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Cully's Original Sports Bar is your ultimate destination for unbeatable food, drinks, and sports action in Niagara. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, winding down after a day at the office, or just looking for a lively spot to catch up with friends, Cully's has you covered. Their menu is packed with mouth-watering options, from classic pub favorites to unique chef specials, all served alongside a wide selection of craft beers, cocktails, and daily drink deals. With multiple TVs broadcasting the latest sports events, you won't miss a minute of the action, no matter where you sit. Cully's Original Sports Bar, a proud supporter of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Cully's is the place to be before and after every IceDogs matchup. Check out their menu online at cullys.com. Give them a call at 905-684-1771 or check them out on Facebook, X, or Instagram for more information. Located at 223 St. Paul Street in the heart of downtown St. Catharines, just minutes from the Meridian Center. Open daily Sunday to Thursday till midnight and Friday to Saturday till 2 a.m. for those late night eaters. Cully's, it happens here.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today. Because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Browdy.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast monthly recap episode. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you to continue breaking down the IceDogs' successful 8-2-1 month of December and going into the brand new year here in 2025. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our YouTube channel today. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. And thank you to everybody that's listened on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Also, give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage. And as well, you can give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all that sort of thing as well. So, with that said, Cam, we got to start off segment 2 today with our IceDogs ticket giveaway. So if you guys want to be entered in to get some free IceDog tickets for the month of January, the code word that you have to send us via DM on Dog Pound Podcast or on our social media accounts is resolution. That is going to be the key word for today, given that it is in New Year's, January 1st of 2025. Happy New Year to everybody out there, and hopefully you guys have some good New Year's resolutions. I know we look forward to seeing the IceDogs continue to build here, and their resolution is going to be making the playoffs after 3 years of not doing so. So, Cam, we talked that we were going to talk about the trade deadline a little bit in the second part of today's episode, and we're going to hear from Ben Boudreau as well. But something we quickly didn't mention after Kevin He had talked to us in Captain Kev's flight deck was Noah Van Vliet committing to Sacred Heart Pioneers for the 25-26 season. So, as you like to call him, the sheriff out there, he's a man against boys, and look forward to seeing him play in Division I hockey because he definitely deserves it moving forward.
No, absolutely. Awesome to see. And, again, we're going to see a lot more. The NCAA ruling, we're starting to see kind of the trickle-down effect of it. I think it's going to really help the players that, play for, like Van Vliet played really hard for 5 years in the OHL and then moves on to Division I and able to play in collegiate hockey. I think it's great for those players, I think, and you're not going to hear about that. You're only going to hear about the guys that, Fantilli and, those guys that, that now the high end guys that will go into the OHL instead of exactly right. Celebrini would be another great one. Oh, and Power, the players that probably would have played in the OHL had they given the chance. You're only going to hear about those, but I think that from a development standpoint, it's fantastic for the players. And couldn't be better for a better guy, Van Vliet plays the game the right way, and he's been awesome for the IceDogs and his teammates. So love to see that, and congrats to him.
Absolutely. And Kevin He obviously signing his entry-level deal. Cam, we haven't really had your thoughts on this. I talked to Kevin at practice about it, and we haven't had an episode since then, but the first Chinese-born player in NHL history to sign an NHL contract. I know you cover the NHL as well, so this was getting a lot of national attention from all major outlets. Kevin He obviously going to have more spotlight on him specifically, but it's good for the OHL and the IceDogs as well that a guy like Kevin He has kind of broken through that glass ceiling and been the first drafted player for the IceDogs, but there's also a lot more deeper meaning to it, given all of that as well. So what were your thoughts on finally seeing that pen to paper for Kevin?
Awesome. I think it was a foregone conclusion, and I love the national coverage it got, and I think it's big. It's something that I never even thought about, when, him being, Chinese descent, being the highest drafted player ever and being the first player signed, right? Mm-hmm. I just think of him, I don't think of it as that. I think of him as just a fantastic human being. I've gotten to watch him play as a fan and now covering the team for his entire career. And I'll still never forget, one of my viewers was his skating coach. And I remember when the IceDogs signed him, I still have the DM where he says, he sent me a clip of, I'd love to find it. That'd be funny to show. A clip of Kevin skating when he was just drafted before he ever played in the OHL or gone to camp with the IceDogs, and said, "You guys got to steal in the second round." And so I've always had an extra eye for him when in his rookie season and things like that. But he's just such a hard worker. I don't think of it as like, it's big for him, just the fact that he's the first ever Chinese-born player. But I think it's just awesome for him as a person. And he works so hard. And it's great to see in sports when people do it the right way. We don't see it. Sometimes we don't see it a lot. And really excited for him. And Winnipeg is a really good organization in terms of, they always had to be, just because of, not being the most desirable place for free agents to go in terms of drafting and developing their talent. So he is 100% going to see NHL games at some point in his career, and that's massive because not everyone who gets drafted does. and his skating is going to get him there, and the rest of it and his work ethic is going to keep him there.
Yeah, and you mentioned like he went away for camp and played in that preseason game, got an assist, and really showed them a lot there because just from the past draft being a 4th-round pick, those guys sometimes don't even sign for a year or two. So the fact that as a 4th-round pick from just this past draft signs already, that's a huge testament to what Kevin has done. And you mentioned his skating is NHL ready at this point, but everything else that he brings, the intangibles, now being the captain of the IceDogs, just carries himself the right way. He's a fan favorite here in Niagara as well. So you knew it was coming at some point. I think it was maybe sooner than even we had thought, but we're so happy that Winnipeg kind of, saw that that this was a guy that they needed to get in their organization sooner rather than later. And, Kevin might not be here for 3 more years, but it'll be nice to see him kind of move on to the NHL level in the next couple of years, and very well deserved all around.
No, absolutely. I will be I'm in agreement with you there. Like, you don't see 4th-rounders usually get signed that in their first draft year. So it just goes to show that he is making waves. And again, the national coverage is awesome. I love that for him, because he's not someone that demands it, and he's earned it. And I'm glad that the rest of the hockey world got a little glimpse of the player that we've gotten to watch, be the focal point of essentially every game for the last 3 seasons. And, can't wait to see what happens next.
And even as Ben said, I think the 4th-round grade was not a deterrent on him. It was more of the team success. And that's straight out of the head coach's mouth.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you see it all the time. Yeah. This isn't a slight, but, you see teams that, where players, that are line mates of some of the guys that go high overall. Off the top of my head, Sam O'Reilly from the
London
Knights. He might not go in the first if he doesn't play on London, and that's a big reason why a lot of players go that. Like, they want to go there. They tons of scouts in there, obviously. I agree, and Niagara. You look at their standings. If you're a scouting staff, and be like, I don't see anything here, obviously, but that's not the case. And, Kevin showed everyone why 4th round Winnipeg made a great pick there. And got to give credit to Winnipeg. They also have Kieran Walton from Sudbury, and he quietly might be one of the craziest, stories too, because Sudbury wasn't supposed to be good this year. They were kind of on the downswing after kind of going in for it the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. They lose potentially the best line in the OHL last year. And Kieran Walton's like top 5 in scoring. So, and again, another Winnipeg draft pick. So someone out in Winnipeg is really doing their due diligence in the OHL. They're becoming the new Columbus Blue Jackets.
No, absolutely. And they've obviously seen something in him, and Kevin's done a great job there. So it'll be nice to see his progression the second half of the year, and using that as a rocket ship to get up there to Winnipeg sooner rather than later with helping this IceDogs team. But with that, we're going to get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau, because that will tie into looking ahead to the trade deadline with the last question that I asked him about. So our Inside the Coaches Room is brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Here is what the IceDogs head coach had to say about his team's month and going into a very important January to start 2025. Back on Inside the Coaches Room with IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau. Ben, 8-2-1 for the month of December, closing out 2024 on a high note here on New Year's Eve with a big win in front of the biggest crowd of the year at the Meridian Center. How pleased are you with obviously a little roadblock there in Michigan to come out and finish out strong in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Usually those 8-2-1 numbers that we've been used to are jumbled up in a phone number somewhere, not the record of an entire month. So for us to see that, I think is just a testament to these players finding different ways to win. We were scoring a lot of goals, obviously, in this month, but capping it off tonight the right way. I think it was the first time we kept to a team in under 3 goals in that stretch, to be honest. So it was really exciting to see the guys clamp down defensively today for the great finish to a great year so far.
Yeah, so far, and this is your first home game since, I believe, December 7th, so you've been on the road a lot, and then when you came back from the break, you went back on the road again, so hopefully, you got a couple of road games coming up in the 3-3 to begin January, but just how much are you happy that you got through this stretch with a positive record, because that wasn't an easy month at all?
No, it was really tough, and 8-2-1 to go through it. I mean, you're going to look back and kind of scratch your head and say, how did we do that? But I think the best thing to come back from a road trip was seeing the fan support, 5,300 fans to come and watch the Niagara IceDogs win on New Year's Eve, I mean, is an incredible thing. And I mean, if you're a young player and you look up and you see that, I mean, that gives you goosebumps. Hopefully we see that a lot more often than not. And I think it's great that they take recognition that we're winning, and it's a lot of fun to play in front of a pretty rabid fan base.
Yeah, and 11,000 for the 50-50. Unfortunately, neither of us were the winner of that tonight. But regardless, how good was it to beat this Peterborough team? Obviously, you went up there last game, and your former captain, Gavin Bryant, got the better of you with the overtime winner. He scores tonight, but you guys have the final laugh, and obviously a big effort. And Peterborough's playing a lot better, 5-4-1 in their last 10, and definitely not the team you saw at the beginning of the year. So how pleased were you that you came away with the 2 points tonight?
Well, I'm really pleased. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how they come. I mean, you're going to go with the result. You never said no to 2 points before when it's there. I mean, it comes in different ways, but our team found a way to band together, and the 2 points at the end of the day is all we came from. So it wasn't a perfect game, but when you're looking for perfection, you're going to be disappointed every single time. So I thought we did enough to get the win tonight, and I'm extremely happy to cap it off. And I thought everybody's had a great holiday, and we're looking forward to going in to face some really tough teams and use that as a measuring stick to see where we really are.
Obviously, your big guns, the Robricks, the Hees, the Lashkos, Ethan Zadas have been coming through for you. But what's maybe one player that you can see really progressing as you've gone the last month or so that you're really starting to, that's earning more ice time in your mind and that you're really starting to see some positive strides from?
Yeah, we had really high hopes for Matthew Paris at the beginning of the year. I mean, he's big, he can skate, he's got vision, he has a knack for scoring. And I mean, I think he's got 7 points in his last 5 games. So he's just starting to catch some pretty good fire right now. And I think that's good for our team because, like you said, we've got a number of guys that find ways to contribute on the offensive side. If it isn't Asadorian or Paris or Waslin or Rubrick or Zod or Aerosmith or Loshko or Kevin, I mean, that list is pretty deep right now. And for us, it's finding contributions from everybody. If you're not scoring, it's what else are you doing for us? And like I said, no matter what you say, the record speaks for itself right now, and we're pretty proud of that.
You're happy about where the team is right now, obviously in a top 3 spot in the conference and a little bit ahead of schedule compared to where you thought you would be at the beginning of the year. So the trade deadline's upcoming in a week or so, and that's always a stressful time for every team and every player, wondering if they're going to have a new home come the second week of January. So what's your message to the guys in there as they approach this and then going forward afterward that you believe in those guys in that room right now?
Well, I mean, 100%. I believe in those guys in the room, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. I mean, I come here every single day just trying to do my job and coach right there, and let the management do what they will. And if I get notified that we've made a trade, we make the most out of it. If we don't, I don't blame them. I mean, we've gotten to here with the team that we have, so let's keep it going. I mean, we're on the second half of the season right now, and the fact that we're in a playoff position, and it's great to start having that mindset of not just make the playoffs, but maybe do some damage in the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting for us to see how we close out the year.
Thanks, Coach. Happy New Year, and look forward to talking next week.
Happy New Year, Brandon.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on Inside the Coaches Room. Cam, interesting thoughts there from the IceDogs head coach, especially at the end.
Oh, I just want to first start with the hearing his sentiment about the fans showing up. I've talked about this a lot, about the game recaps and the energy in the building, and yeah, man, like it's just so fun. I've talked to a lot of players, like past players in the OHL, and there's a reason why their favorite places to play are Kitchener, London. It's because the barn is full, and Niagara has one of the best arena setups in the CHL. And obviously, attendance is down. 5 straight years not making the playoffs. You really can't be blamed. But man, when it's full, it's just a lot of fun. It's a great night out. It's a great spot. So I love to hear that he's given the crowd the flowers from the New Year's Eve game. It was just awesome to see the barn full. So that being said, it sounds like he's nervous too, in terms of the trade deadline. It's. I don't know many other teams that are in this position. Like I said, the fact that they haven't made the playoffs in so long, it's important to not just get smoked in the first round. For example, I'll get just looking at the OHL standings, right, for the Eastern Conference, let's say, right? Because 8 teams out of 10 make it, Ottawa is in a very down year. Okay? They're probably going to sell at the deadline. So Muse is probably gone. Pinelli is probably gone. And they're going to limp in. Let's say they limp into the playoffs. They're probably going to get knocked out in the first round. Maybe they won't, but maybe they might get knocked out in the first round, and that's okay, because it's understood. That's how the cycles work, right? But they still make the playoffs. I don't think the Ice Dogs can go, and I think that, if they win a round, it's just such an interesting spot, man, because next year is their true window. They're going to have a real shot at winning the conference, at going in for the the OHL championship, or at least winning the Eastern Conference. And not to mention, you've got the Memorial Cup in 2027. Like, a lot of that goes into it, man. If you push all your chips in early, this is honest to God, this is why I don't think that there will be a Luchenko or Musty or a deal of that nature for the Ice Dogs this year. And I think that it is because they are going to try hard again for the Memorial Cup. And if you go all in right now, you take off a year on the other side, right? And they don't have the pick.
You lose that
exactly.
Core.
Yep. To get one of those guys, man, they don't have a lot of picks. It's which is unfortunate. This is another situation that they're in. They don't have like 3 second-rounders next year. I don't believe they have their second-rounder next year, unfortunately. So it's hard to make a deal like that without losing Creed or Wasslin. And we're playing Armchair GM, but nonetheless, it's. I hope that they stick together here, and if they're going to make it a depth add, insurance for an injury, because some of the players on the team have shown that they might go through the injury bug a little bit. I mean, I'll be honest with you, a goaltender like Robertson's played well, but because Humphreys looks to be the future, right? It's such a difficult spot to pinpoint what to do here. I don't envy the position that they have to decide on. I truthfully hope as a fan that part of me would be like, if you traded, this is going to sound insane. If you traded Loshko and got a Hall, and Zada is your first line center, and Asadorian's your second line center,
Yeah, it's not as bad as it sounds, but
that really assists the draft pick problem, I think, going into next year. And then you make that trade for Carter George or something of that nature, when they're going to get an NHL drafted, a first rounder. It's the kind of situation, right? And, I'm excited. It's an exciting time for the Ice Dogs, but I don't blame them for going for it by not trading anyone. I don't blame them. It's going to be tough next year where they don't get anything for Loshko and they don't get anything for Van Vliet or Flores. But they need them this year. And if they're going to win a round, they're going to need them. And I think it would just be really big for the room to have those guys stick it out, So.
Yeah, I have their updated picks. They don't have a second this year. They have a third, 2 fourths, and then the following year they have everything except a fifth. So people forget that they already made a move for Blake Aerosmith. They gave up 2/3 to get him. So that was almost like a deadline acquisition after they had flipped Mason Ray up to Owen Sound for a late round pick and then brought in Blake Aerosmith. You gave up 2/3 to get him, and you give London
9 points in 12 games, by the way, for Aerosmith. That isn't, you know what I mean? And he's found a home on the second line with
Zada,
Roberk and Zada, which has been a great line. So, and he's got some jam too. He looks like Zada to an extent, maybe not the offensive flair now this year, but he has that kind of agitator jam to him. So, I'm just excited. Like it is such a fun period. I am nervous for the deadline though. I will be honest with you. There is, you can make the team better this year, and it would be scary, I think, because then you put a lot of pressure on this year, and you don't want to mess up the future years. But I'm here for the ride. It's just fun now, and they've really redeemed themselves after 4 years of really rough hockey. The franchise has really found some stability with head coach Ben Boudreau and Kevin and now Roberk and Wasson, and then kind of the next wave. But I hope that the New Year's game, if that's anything, hey. If that was 5,300 people that went in there and maybe they haven't been paying attention, they win a big game against Peterborough, which is a big name franchise, but they leave feeling good. They had a blast, Hopefully that means more butts in the seats as we go, and I pray that the Meridian Center is full for that playoff round. I do, because I think it'd be massive for those players.
Yeah, and whoever won the 50-50 of 11,000 last night, that was a good start to 2025.
Yeah.
So, Cam, as we look ahead now, we're going to hear from IceDogs General Manager Wes Consorti following the trade deadline, and we'll do a small episode for that as well. Fallout from the IceDogs trade deadline. We've got another live post-game recap coming up this Sunday after the game against the Windsor Spitfires. That'll be a lot of fun, so make sure you're following us on our YouTube channel when we do go live for that. But 3-3 coming up, 3 and 2.5 really, because the Sunday afternoon game. But what are you looking for from the IceDogs here? An upcoming schedule, but you're going to be at home after this weekend for most of the month, and it's going to be, just as you mentioned, the dog days now of the season following the trade deadline. You'll see some teams load up, and it'll just be interesting to kind of see where the deck falls for the IceDogs. But upcoming stretch, what are you hoping for here?
I mean, I think the rest of the season, if they just go 500. They've had such a good first half of the season. If they just go 500 and avoid the 10-game losing streak or backing into the playoffs, get a first-round matchup into the, keep your cushion on a home playoff spot and beat the teams that you should. No more losing to Flint. No, don't lose to Owen Sound. Put away the teams you should, and just stay healthy. That's the biggest one. I just, because that's the only thing I think that would derail the season is injury, and knock on wood that doesn't happen. But they've finally gotten healthy, and it's just so much fun watching the actual roster when the 3 forward lines are rolling, even the 4th line, because I think it's situated nicely. It's just so much more fun. I mean, we just talked about, having Acid Oren, who's a point per game player this season, by the way, 19 and 20 games, forgotten about, because now he's the 3rd line center, which he is a great OHL player, and it's always fun to watch him out there. So stay healthy, and that's all I'm looking for. I just want him to stay healthy. That's it.
3 solid scoring forward lines, a lot of young depth, now they've got all the right shots back. Owen
Flores some rest.
Flores has been healthy, started 23 of the last 25, and you saw Charlie up when he played against Saginaw, stop 50 shots. So he's capable of playing when they give him that opportunity. But I know Flores just really wants to play it out. But again, when you get to April and that you want to have some gas left in the tank for their starter. But it's just been fun to see so many different people contributing to why the IceDogs are sitting 3rd in the Eastern Conference right now. They were first going into the break, and having 2 guys in the top 10 of all the CHL in goals, not just the OHL, all the CHL in goals, and Kevin He and Ryan Robrick and Ethan Zada continuing to rocket up those draft boards as well. There's a lot of fun storylines to talk about. We look forward to bringing you those stories here as we move forward with our live game recaps and our shows here on YouTube. So thank you to everybody that supported us here in 2024, and now going into 2025, look forward to bringing you much more here as we go forward on the Dog Pound Podcast. That's going to wrap up our monthly wrap-up for December 2024 right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. So for Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again very soon. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.